When I heard the pounding at my front door that rainy night, I thought something terrible had happened. I thought maybe there was an emergency. I thought my son needed me. I was wrong about all three. The sound wasn't frantic knocking. It was metal against wood. Heavy, deliberate. The kind of sound that makes your stomach drop before your brain can catch up. Crack! Another hit. Crack! My hands were shaking as I moved toward the entryway, my phone clutched so tight my knuckles went white. The rain was coming down hard outside, drumming against the windows of my New Jersey home like it was trying to warn me about something I wasn't ready to see. And then I heard the voices. Just hit it again, Jalen. Bria, wake, mama. Gonna be so mad. She should have thought about that before she changed the locks on us. My son's voice, his wife's voice, outside my door with a hammer. I stood there frozen, my heart beating so hard I could feel it in my throat. This was the same boy I raised on my own after his father died when we were still living in Maryland. The same child I worked double shifts for. The same young man I sacrificed weekends and holidays for, cleaning offices in Delaware just so he could have opportunities I never had growing up. I gave him everything my own mother never gave me. Patience, time, love that didn't come with conditions. But standing there in my hallway, listening to my only child try to break down my door, I realized something that broke me in ways I wasn't prepared for. Love doesn't always protect you from the people you love most. She's got money in there, Bria yelled through the rain. I saw the envelope, Jalen. Your mama been lying to you this whole time. Open this door. The hammer hit again. My breath caught, and I don't know what made me do it. Maybe it was anger. Maybe it was heartbreak. Maybe I just needed to see his face and understand how we got here. But I reached for the lock. I turned it slowly. I pulled the door open. And the look on their faces when they saw me standing there, that's a moment I'll never forget. Jalen's eyes went wide. The hammer froze mid-swing. Bria's mouth fell open like someone had just stolen the words right out of her throat. Complete, total silence. Because I wasn't alone. Standing behind me in the hallway, arms crossed, badge visible on her hip, was Detective Nadia Hollis, my childhood friend from Virginia who had stopped by that evening after hearing about some strange activity around my property. The rain kept falling, the streetlights flickered, and in that terrible, suffocating silence, I saw the truth written all over my son's face. The truth they'd been hiding from me for years. The truth about the money, the lies, the break-ins I didn't want to believe were real. And the truth about what happens when you love someone so much you forget to teach them how to love you back. This is the story of how my son and his wife tried to destroy more than just my door, and how I finally learned that sometimes the hardest person to protect yourself from is the child you die for. It didn't start with a hammer. It started with Instagram. I remember the first time I noticed something was off. Jalen had called me on a Tuesday afternoon, his voice heavy with exhaustion. Mama, I can't talk long. I've been pulling doubles at the warehouse. Bria's been picking up extra shifts, too. We're just trying to stay above water. My heart ached for him. I knew that struggle. I lived that struggle for 20 years raising him. Baby, you need anything? I asked. I can bring some groceries by this weekend. Nah, Mama, we're good. Just tired, you know? I hung up, feeling grateful he was working hard, proud that he was trying to build something for himself and his wife. Then I opened Instagram that night. There they were, Jalen and Bria, posted 3 hours earlier, sitting at some fancy brunch spot with matching outfits, mimosas in hand, everything filtered and perfect. The caption read, "Sunday Funday vibes with my king." Sunday Funday. The same Sunday he told me he'd been working doubles. I stared at that photo for a long time, told myself maybe he got the days mixed up. Maybe it was an old picture she just posted. Maybe I was being the overbearing mother he always said I worry too much. But the pit in my stomach knew better. The lies got bigger after that. Small amounts of money started disappearing from my account. Nothing huge at first. $50 here, $80 there. Always around the times Jalen would stop by to check on me, or when he'd call saying he needed help with gas or groceries. I didn't put a password on my account back then. I trusted him. He was my son. If he needed something, I wanted him to feel like he could ask without shame. But he never asked. He just took. When I'd bring it up later, casually, not wanting to accuse him, he'd look confused. "Mama, I thought I told you about that. I needed to get the car inspected." Or, "Bria said you told her it was cool to grab some for the electric bill." I never told Bria anything was cool, but Jalen would say it so confidently, like I was the one misremembering, that I'd start doubting myself. Maybe I did say something and forgot. Maybe I was getting older and my memory wasn't what it used to be. That's what gaslighting does. It makes you question your own reality until you're apologizing for things you never did wrong. The worst part? I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe that my son, the boy I held through nightmares, the teenager I sat with during heartbreaks, the young man I celebrated at his high school graduation, wouldn't lie to my face while robbing me blind. But he did. And she helped him do it. Bria was good at playing the role. When they'd visit, she'd hug me tight, call me Miss Althea with that sweet smile, ask about my health and my friends like she genuinely cared. She'd post pictures of us on her social media with captions like, "Family is everything," and "Blessed to have the best mother-in-law." But her eyes never matched their words. There was always something cold behind them, something calculating, like she was sizing me up, figuring out what I had and how much of it she could get. I tried to ignore it, tried to focus on the fact that Jalen seemed happy, tried to convince myself that maybe I was just jealous of losing my son's attention to another woman. But then came the day that shattered every excuse I'd made for them. It was a Thursday morning, 3 months before the hammer incident. My phone rang just after 8. Bria's voice came through shaky and panicked. "Miss Althea, I don't know how to tell you this, but Jalen got fired yesterday. They accused him of something he didn't do. It's so unfair. We're about to lose everything. The rent's due and we don't have it. I'm scared." My chest tightened. My hands started trembling. All the doubt I'd been carrying evaporated in an instant because my baby needed me. "I'm on my way," I said, already grabbing my keys. I drove to their apartment in Connecticut with my heart racing, my mind running through how much I had in savings, what bills I could push back to help them, how we'd figure this out together, because that's what family does. When I got there, Bria answered the door with red-rimmed eyes. Jalen was sitting on the couch, head in his hands, looking defeated. "It's going to be okay," I said, pulling him into a hug. "We'll figure this out." I sat down at their kitchen table, ready to talk through a plan. That's when I saw it. The papers. Just sitting there on the edge of the table, partially covered by a magazine, like someone had tried to hide them but forgot. Eviction notice. I pulled it closer, my heart starting to pound for a different reason now. The date at the top made my blood run cold. 4 months ago. This notice was dated 4 months before Bria called me crying about Jalen losing his job yesterday. My hands shook as I looked up at them. Bria's face had gone pale. Jalen wouldn't meet my eyes. "When did this happen?" I asked quietly. Jalen opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Bria jumped in fast. That's old, Miss Althea. We handled that already. That's before. This is dated 4 months ago, I said, my voice harder now. You've been lying to me for 4 months? The room went silent except for the hum of their refrigerator and the sound of my heart breaking in real time. Jalen finally looked at me, and I saw something in his face I never seen before. Guilt. Not guilt for what he'd done. Guilt that he'd been caught. Mama, it's complicated. No, I said, standing up, it's not complicated. You lied. You both lied, and I'm done making excuses for it. I walked out of that apartment knowing something had fundamentally changed between us. I just didn't know yet how much worse it was going to get.
2 weeks after I found those eviction papers, my cousin Diane called me from Massachusetts. Girl, when are you coming to visit? You've been talking about needing a break for months. Come stay with me for a few days. Clear your head. I almost said no. Part of me felt like I needed to stay close to home, keep an eye on things, maybe try one more time to talk to Jalen when emotions weren't running so high. But the exhaustion went out. You know what? You're right. I need to get away. I packed a small bag, told Jalen I'd be gone for 4 days, and made the drive up to Massachusetts. Diane's place was quiet and warm, and for the first 2 days, I actually felt like I could breathe again. Then my phone started ringing. The first call came from Mrs. Patterson, my neighbor who lived 3 doors down. Althea, honey, I don't want to worry you, but I just saw Jalen and that wife of his at your house. They were looking through your front window. I thought maybe you asked them to check on something? My stomach dropped. No, Mrs. Patterson, I didn't ask them to check on anything. Oh, well, they just left. Jalen tried the door handle a few times. They walked around back, too. I thanked her and hung up, my hands already shaking. I called Jalen immediately. It rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. I texted him, "Why were you at my house?" No response. I tried Bria's phone, straight to voicemail. That sick feeling in my gut, the one I've been ignoring for months, came roaring back with a vengeance. An hour later, Mr. Chen from across the street called. "Miss Althea, I hope I'm not overstepping, but your son was back at your house again. He was pulling on your back gate pretty hard. I almost went over there, but then they got in their car and left." Twice in one day. What were they looking for? I tried calling Jalen 3 more times that evening. Nothing. Bria's phone stayed off. By the 3rd day of my trip, I couldn't take it anymore. The anxiety was eating me alive. I told Diane I needed to head home early. Made up some excuse about a doctor's appointment I'd forgotten about. She knew I was lying, but she didn't push. The entire drive back to New Jersey, my mind was racing. Maybe they were just worried about me. Maybe they wanted to drop something off and got worried when I didn't answer. Maybe I was overreacting and letting my hurt feelings turn me into someone suspicious and bitter. But when I unlocked my front door and stepped inside, all those maybes died. The house looked wrong. Not destroyed, not ransacked, just wrong. Like someone had been careful, but not careful enough. The drawer in my entryway table was open about an inch. I never left it open. The cabinet in my living room where I kept old photo albums and documents, it was shifted. Not much, just enough that the edge wasn't flush with the wall anymore. Someone had moved it. My heart was pounding as I walked through each room, checking, looking, trying to figure out what was missing or out of place. Nothing major seemed gone. My TV was still there. My jewelry box in the bedroom looked untouched. But the feeling of violation was so thick I could barely breathe. That's when I remembered the security camera. I'd installed a small one in my living room 6 months ago after there had been some break-ins in the neighborhood. It wasn't fancy, just a basic camera with a memory card that recorded motion. I rushed to it, my hands fumbling as I tried to eject the card. It wasn't there. The entire memory card was gone. Someone had taken it. And there was only one other person besides me who knew the code to my front door. I sank onto my couch, phone clutched in my hand, trying to decide what to do. Part of me wanted to call Jalen right then and scream at him, demand answers, demand the truth. But another part of me, the part that was already grieving the son I thought I had, knew that confronting him would just lead to more lies, more gaslighting, more "Mama, you're overreacting," and "Mama, you're remembering it wrong." So instead, I did something I never thought I'd have to do. I called a locksmith and had every lock on my house changed. When the locksmith asked if I wanted to keep a spare key for family, I looked him dead in the eye and said, "No, just me." He didn't ask questions. After he left, I sat in my kitchen and cried harder than I'd cried since Jalen's father died. Because changing those locks meant accepting a truth I didn't want to face. My son wasn't just lying to me anymore. He was stealing from me. And I had no idea how far he was willing to go. I didn't have to wonder for long. 3 days after I changed the locks, my phone rang at 2 a.m. It was Jalen. His voice was tight with anger. "Why'd you change the locks, Mama?" I was still half asleep, my brain struggling to catch up. "What?" "The locks. I tried to use my key and it didn't work. What's going on?" The audacity of that question hit me like cold water. "You're asking me what's going on?" I sat up in bed now, fully awake. "You were at my house while I was gone, multiple times. You took my security camera card, and you're asking me what's going on?" Silence on the other end. Then, "I don't know what you're talking about. Jalen, the neighbors saw you. They're lying. Multiple neighbors, multiple times." More silence. Then I heard Bria's voice in the background, muffled but sharp. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was clear. She was angry. "Look, Mama," Jalen said finally, his voice different now, harder. "You're being paranoid. Me and Bria were just checking on the house for you. That's what family does." "I never asked you to check on anything." "Well, we were trying to help, but if you're going to act like this, then forget it. Come on, Bria, let's go." And he hung up on me. My own son hung up on me. I sat there in the dark, my phone still pressed to my ear, listening to the dial tone and wondering how we got here. Wondering what happened to the little boy who used to crawl into my lap when he had nightmares. Wondering if he was ever really that boy at all. Or if I just loved him so much I couldn't see who he was becoming. The answer to that question would come 2 weeks later, on a rainy Friday night, with a hammer.
The rain started just after dinner. Not a gentle rain, the kind that hits your windows hard enough to sound like someone throwing pebbles at the glass. The kind that makes you want to curl up with a blanket and a cup of tea and forget the world exists outside your door. I was in the kitchen doing exactly that, making chamomile tea. trying to calm the anxiety that had been sitting in my chest like a stone for the past 2 weeks. Ever since I changed those locks, I hadn't heard from Jalen at all. No calls, no texts, nothing. Part of me was relieved. Part of me was terrified. Because silence from my son had never meant peace. It usually meant he was planning something. I was pouring hot water into my mug when I heard it. Crack! The sound was so loud and sudden that I dropped the kettle. Hot water splashed across the counter as my heart jumped into my throat. What was that? I stood frozen, listening. Crack! There it was again, louder this time, coming from the front of the house. My first thought was that a tree branch had fallen on my porch. The wind was strong enough. But then I heard it a third time. Crack. And that's when I realized that wasn't wood breaking. That was metal hitting wood. Someone was hitting my door. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely grip my phone as I pulled it from my pocket. I tiptoed toward the entryway, my breath coming in short, shallow gasps. The hitting continued, rhythmic, determined. And then I heard the voices. Just hit it harder, Jalen. We don't have all night. Bria, my blood went cold. I am hitting it hard. Jalen's voice strained in panic. This lock is different. She must have changed it. Then break the damn thing. You know she keeps cash in there. I saw it when I... She stopped mid-sentence, but the damage was done. When I what, Bria? My mind raced back to the missing camera card, the shifted cabinet, the open drawer. She'd been inside my house before. This is crazy, Jalen said, and I could hear the fear in his voice now. Mama's gonna call the cops. Your mama ain't calling nobody on you. She loves you too much. That's her problem. She can't say no to you. Now break this lock before somebody sees us. I stood there on the other side of that door, listening to my son's wife talk about me like I was an ATM machine. Like my love for my child was a weakness she could exploit. And the worst part? She was right. I had never been able to say no to Jalen. Not when he was little and wanted ice cream for breakfast. Not when he was a teenager and needed money for things I knew he was lying about. Not when he was an adult, drowning in debt he'd hidden from me. My love had always been unconditional. And they had turned it into a weapon against me. The hammer hit again, and I heard wood splinter. They were actually going to break into my house? My hands moved before my brain caught up. I unlocked the door and pulled it open. The hammer froze in midair. Jalen's face went from determined to horrified in less than a second. His mouth fell open. The hammer dropped to his side. Bria's eyes went wide, her body going rigid like she'd just been caught doing something far worse than she had expected. And for a moment, one terrible, suffocating moment, nobody said anything. The rain poured down around them, soaking their clothes, dripping from Jalen's hair into his eyes. Bria's makeup was running down her face in black streaks. They looked desperate. Cornered, guilty, but they didn't look sorry. Mama, Jalen started, his voice cracking. That's when Nadia stepped into view behind me. She moved slowly, deliberately, her badge catching the light from my hallway. Her arms were crossed, her face completely calm, but her eyes were sharp, taking in everything. The hammer, the dented door, their soaked, guilty faces. Jalen and Bria, she said, her voice even and professional. Would you like to explain why you're attempting to break into this woman's home? The color drained from Jalen's face so fast I thought he might pass out right there on my porch. Bria recovered faster. She always did. We weren't breaking in, she said quickly, straightening up, trying to sound offended. This is his mother's house. We have a right to be here. With a hammer? Nadia asked, one eyebrow raised. The door was stuck. We were trying to help. Stop, I said quietly. Everyone looked at me. I stepped forward, my body shaking but my voice steady.
Stop lying. Please, just stop. Jalen's face crumpled. Mama, I can explain. You've been explaining for months, I said, and I could feel tears burning behind my eyes. And every explanation has been a lie. Nadia pulled something from her jacket pocket, a folder. She opened it and held up a photograph. It was grainy, clearly taken from a security camera, but the image was clear enough. Bria, standing in my driveway, holding an envelope. Not just any envelope. The white one with the small tear on the corner. The one I kept my emergency savings in. The one I kept hidden in my bedroom closet. This was taken last week, Nadia said, calmly, from your neighbor's camera across the street. The same day you told Althea you'd be working late, Jalen. Jalen turned to Bria, confusion and betrayal flooding his face. You said you didn't go inside. Oh, shut up, Jalen. Bria snapped, her mask finally dropping. You think your mama's struggling like she always crying about? Look at this house. Look how nice she living while we about to be homeless. Because you've been stealing from me, I said, my voice breaking. Both of you. Nadia pulled out another paper. Bank statements. Unauthorized withdrawals, 14 of them over the past 6 months, totaling just over $7,000, all made on days when Jalen visited. The number hit me like a physical blow. $7,000. Jalen looked like he might be sick. I didn't know it was that much. You knew enough, Nadia said sharply. Then she pulled out one more photograph. This one made my knees weak. It was Bria again, inside my house, wearing gloves, going through my bedroom drawers. My bedroom, the most private space I had. You broke into my home, I whispered. Jalen's head snapped toward Bria. You told me you just looked through the window. You said you didn't go inside. Bria's face twisted with anger. Oh, grow up, Jalen. Somebody had to be the adult here. Your mama been hiding money from you your whole life, making you feel guilty for needing help, acting like she's so poor when she got stacks hidden in her house. I don't have stacks, I shouted, my composure finally breaking. I have savings that I worked for, that I earned, cleaning offices and working double shifts so you wouldn't have to live the way I did. Yeah, and where'd that get me? Drowning in debt because I tried to start a business that failed? Taking out loans to pay loans because I was too ashamed to tell you I was struggling? I would have helped you, I said, my voice shaking with grief and rage. You always judge me, Mama. Always act like you know better than me. Maybe I do know better, I shot back, because I've been where you are, and I didn't lie and steal from the people who loved me. Jalen flinched like I'd slapped him. Nadia stepped forward, her voice cutting through the emotion. Althea, do you want to press charges? The question hung in the air between us. I looked at my son. Really looked at him. His eyes were red and swollen, his clothes were soaked, his hands were shaking. He looked lost, broken, like a child who'd wandered too far from home and didn't know how to find his way back. But standing next to him was Bria. And she wasn't crying, wasn't apologizing, wasn't showing even a hint of remorse. Her jaw was set, her eyes were hard. She still thought she was right. And in that moment, I understood something that shattered whatever was left of my heart. I could forgive Jalen 1,000 times, but as long as he chose her, he would keep choosing to hurt me. Get off my property,
I said quietly. Both of you. Now. Mama, Jalen reached for me. I stepped back. Don't, I said, my voice breaking. Just go. Bria grabbed Jalen's arm. Come on, she ain't worth it. They turned and walked into the rain, their voices rising immediately into argument, blaming each other, blaming me, everyone but themselves. I stood in my doorway and watched them disappear into the darkness. Then I closed the door, locked it, and collapsed onto the floor. Nadia sat down beside me, her hand on my shoulder, saying nothing because there was nothing to say. My son had tried to break down my door, and I had finally done what I should have done months ago. I locked him out.
Nadia stayed with me that night. She didn't ask questions, didn't try to fix anything. She just made me tea, wrapped a blanket around my shoulders, and sat with me while I cried until there were no tears left. When the sun came up the next morning, I felt hollow, empty, like someone had reached inside my chest and pulled out everything that made me who I was. But I was also relieved, because the truth was finally out in the open. No more pretending, no more making excuses, no more lying to myself about what my son had become. Nadia left around 8 to file her report. She asked me one more time if I wanted to press charges. I said no, not because I forgave them, not because I thought what they did was okay, but because sending my son to jail wouldn't fix what was broken between us. Some wounds go too deep for the law to heal. I spent that Saturday cleaning my house, scrubbing, organizing, throwing away things I didn't need anymore. It felt symbolic somehow, like I was washing away the residue of betrayal that had settled into every corner of my life. I was in the middle of vacuuming when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mama? Jalen's voice. Small, broken. I said nothing. Mama, please, I need to talk to you. I don't have anything to say to you, Jalen. I know, but please just listen. Please. Against my better judgment, I sat down. You have 5 minutes, I said. He exhaled like he'd been holding his breath. Mama, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for things to get this far. You didn't mean to steal from me? You didn't mean to break into my house? Which part didn't you mean, Jalen? Silence. Then, all of it. I didn't mean any of it. But you did it anyway. I was desperate, Mama. I owe people money. Bad people, people who don't play around. And Bria kept saying you had money saved up, that you were just being stingy, that if you really loved me, you'd help. Don't you dare blame this on her, I said, my voice sharp. She didn't force you to lie to me. She didn't force you to steal from me. You're a grown man, Jalen. You made those choices. More silence. Then I heard it. The sound that broke me all over again. He was crying.
Not the manipulative crying I'd heard from him before when he wanted something. This was different, deeper, the kind of crying that comes from a place of true shame. I don't know how to fix this, he whispered. I don't know how to make this right. I don't know if you can, I said honestly. Does that mean you're done with me? Does that mean I don't have a mother anymore? The question cut through me like glass. You'll always be my son, Jalen, I said, my own voice breaking now. But that doesn't mean I have to let you keep hurting me. That doesn't mean I have to keep setting myself on fire to keep you warm. I never wanted to hurt you, but you did, over and over again, and you let her help you do it. I heard Bria's voice in the background suddenly, sharp and angry. Is that your mama? Are you seriously still talking to her after what she did? My stomach turned. What I did, I repeated. Jalen, what is she talking about? Nothing, Mama. She's just... Bria's voice got louder. She called the cops on us. She humiliated us. After everything we've been through, she couldn't just help us like family's supposed to. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Jalen, are you listening to this? I asked, do you hear how she's twisting this? You tried to break down my door. You stole from me, and somehow I'm the villain? She's just upset, Mama. No, she's manipulating you. She's been manipulating you this entire time, and you're letting her. That's not fair. What's not fair, I said, my voice rising now, is that I spent my whole life making sure you had more than I did. And the moment things got hard, instead of coming to me honestly, you decided to rob me. That's what's not fair, Jalen. Bria's voice again. Tell her we don't need her anymore. Tell her... I have to go, Jalen said quickly. Jalen, listen to me, I said urgently. That woman doesn't love you. She loves what she can get from you. And when there's nothing left to take, she will leave you with nothing. You don't know her like I do. I know her better than you think because I've seen women like her before. Women who find good men with soft hearts and bleed them dry. And by the time those men wake up, it's too late. I love her, Mama. Those 4 words hurt more than anything else he could have said. Then I hope she's worth it, I said quietly, because she's costing you everything. And I hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, knowing that was probably the last real conversation I'd have with my son for a long time. Knowing that he'd made his choice. And it wasn't me. 3 days later, I got a text from Bria. Not Jalen. Bria. You need to send us money. Jalen's gonna lose his car if we don't pay the note by Friday. That's on you. I read that message 3 times, my anger building with each word. That's on me? I typed back. I don't owe you anything, and neither does Jalen. Leave me alone. Her response came immediately. Fine, but when your son ends up on the street, don't act like you cared. You never did. You only care about yourself. I blocked her number. Then I blocked Jalen's too, because I finally understood something I should have understood years ago. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is let someone hit rock bottom, even if that someone is your child, even if it destroys you to watch it happen. I didn't hear from them for 2 months after that. 2 months of silence. 2 months of wondering if I'd made the right choice. 2 months of waking up in the middle of the night with panic in my chest, terrified that something had happened to Jalen. But I held firm. No calls, no texts, no rescue missions. I went to therapy, started journaling, reconnected with friends I'd neglected while I was drowning in my son's chaos. And slowly, very slowly, I started to feel like myself again. Nadia checked on me regularly. She'd stop by with coffee, let me talk when I needed to, sit in comfortable silence when I didn't. You did the right thing, she told me one afternoon. I know it doesn't feel like it, but you did. Then why does it hurt so much? I asked. Because you're a good mother, she said simply. Bad mothers don't feel pain when they set boundaries. You're feeling pain because you love him.
but love doesn't mean letting someone destroy you. I held on to those words like a lifeline. And then, on a cold Tuesday morning in November, my phone rang. Unknown number again. I hesitated, then answered. Mama? Jalen's voice. But different this time. Quieter. Defeated.
"Where are you?" I asked. "Motel off Route 9. Mama, Bria left. She took everything. The car, the money, all of it. She's gone. Part of me wanted to say I told you so, but the bigger part of me just felt sad." "When did she leave?" "Last week, right after I told her I couldn't get any more money from you. She said I was useless, packed her stuff while I was at work, and disappeared." I closed my eyes, grief and vindication warring inside me. "I'm sorry, Jalen. Don't be. You were right. About everything. I didn't want to see it." We sat in silence for a moment. "I can't come home, can I?" he asked finally. "No," I said softly. "Not right now. I understand. But I will help you. Not the way I used to. Not by fixing everything and pretending nothing happened. But I'll help you find resources, programs, a path forward that doesn't involve taking from other people." I could hear him crying quietly on the other end. "I don't deserve that." "No," I agreed. "You don't. But I'm not doing this because you deserve it. I'm doing it because I'm your mother, and because I still have hope that somewhere under all this mess is the man I raised you to be." "I don't know if that man exists anymore, Mama." "Then maybe it's time you find out." Nadia helped me find a program in Colorado. Financial counseling, job placement, addiction support if needed. A fresh start in a place where Jalen couldn't fall back into old patterns. He agreed to go. Not eagerly, not hopefully, but he agreed. I drove him to the bus station. We didn't talk much during the ride. There wasn't much left to say that hadn't already been said. Before he got on the bus, he turned to me. "Thank you, Mama, for not giving up on me completely. I'll never give up on you, but I also won't let you drown me anymore. You understand the difference?" He nodded. "I do now." I watched that bus pull away, carrying my son towards something I hoped would save him. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. 3 months passed before I heard from Jalen again. 3 months of rebuilding my life without the constant weight of his chaos pressing down on my chest. I redecorated my living room, planted flowers in my front yard, started taking a pottery class on Thursday evenings just because it made me happy. I learned what it felt like to live without fear, without waiting for the next crisis, without checking my bank account every morning to see what had been taken from me. I learned what peace felt like. And then, one Saturday afternoon, my phone rang. Jalen's number. The one I'd unblocked a month earlier just in case. "Hi, Mama." His voice sounded different, clearer, stronger somehow. "Hi, baby. How are you?" "I'm good. Really good, actually. I got a job at a warehouse here in Colorado. Nothing fancy, but it's steady. And I'm 3 months into the financial counseling program." Pride bloomed in my chest despite everything. "That's wonderful, Jalen. I'm proud of you." "I'm proud of me too," he said, and I could hear the smile in his voice. That's new for me, being proud of myself instead of ashamed. "What changed?" I asked. He was quiet for a moment. "I stopped blaming everyone else. Stopped blaming you for not rescuing me. Stopped blaming Bria for manipulating me. Started looking at the man in the mirror and asking why I let it all happen." Tears burned behind my eyes. Good tears this time. And what did that man tell you? He told me he was scared, Jalen said softly. Scared of disappointing you. Scared of failing. Scared of not being enough. So instead of being honest about being scared, I lied. And the lies got bigger until they buried me. Fear makes us do terrible things sometimes, I said. Yeah, but it doesn't excuse them. I know that now. We talked for almost an hour. He told me about his counselor, about the budgeting skills he was learning, about the friends he'd made in the program who understood what it felt like to hit bottom. He told me about the letters he'd been writing to me, letters he hadn't sent yet because he was still working up the courage. What do the letters say? I asked. The truth. About how sorry I am, about how much I hurt you, about how I let someone convince me that your love was something to exploit instead of treasure. You can send them whenever you're ready. I'll read them. Even if they break your heart all over again? Even then. Before we hung up, he asked the question I'd been waiting for. Do you think I can ever come home, Mama? Not right now. I know I'm not ready. But someday? I thought about that question carefully. Thought about trust and boundaries and what home really meant. Home isn't just a place, baby. It's built on trust and respect and honesty. And right now, those things are still being rebuilt. So can you come back to my house someday? Maybe. When you've proven to yourself, not to me, to yourself, that you're a man who can be trusted. But will you always have a mother who loves you? Yes. That never changed, even when I had to lock the door. That's fair, he said quietly. That's more than fair. I love you, Jalen. I love you too, Mama. And I'm gonna make you proud. I promise. You already are, by choosing to change. After we hung up, I sat in my living room with a cup of tea, looking at the life I'd rebuilt from the ruins of betrayal. My home was quiet, peaceful, mine. And for the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for someone to take that peace away from me. 2 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. Jalen's handwriting on the envelope, my address written carefully like he'd taken his time. Inside were 4 pages, front and back. His heart spilled out in blue ink. He wrote about the night of the hammer, about how he knew it was wrong, but felt trapped between his debt and Bria's pressure and his own pride. He wrote about Bria, about how she left him with nothing, just like I'd predicted. About how he was angry at me for being right instead of grateful I tried to warn him. He wrote about the months after she left, the depression, the shame, the moment he called me from that motel, knowing I had every right to hang up on him and never speak to him again. And he wrote about gratitude. You taught me that love isn't supposed to destroy you. Real love protects. Real love sets boundaries. Real love says, I won't watch you drown yourself, even when saying it hurts. You saved my life by locking that door, Mama. I just couldn't see it until now. I cried reading those words, not because they erased the pain, but because they proved that pain hadn't been pointless. My son was finally learning what I tried to teach him his whole life,
That love without boundaries isn't love at all. It's just slow destruction dressed up in good intentions. 6 months after that first phone call from Colorado, Jalen sent me a photo. Him standing in front of a small apartment building, holding keys, wearing a genuine smile I hadn't seen on his face in years. The text beneath it read, "My first place in 3 years. Paid for with money I earned myself. No lies, no shortcuts. Just me. Thank you for believing I could do this even when I didn't believe it myself." I sent back, "So proud of you, baby. Keep going." And he did. Not perfectly. There were still hard days. Still moments when he wanted to fall back into old patterns. But he kept choosing the hard right over the easy wrong. And slowly, brick by brick, letter by letter, honest conversation by honest conversation, we started rebuilding what had been broken. Not the same relationship we had before. Something different. Something healthier. Something built on truth instead of obligation. It would take time before he came home. Maybe years. Maybe never in the way he hoped. But that was okay. Because I'd finally learned the difference between being a good mother and being a martyr. And I'd chosen myself. Not instead of my son, but alongside him.